welcome to the show, Melanie.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for coming on. Are you currently in Australia? Is it super early there?
I'm in Perth, Western Australia, so it's 7 a.m. So the sun is just sort slowly coming up.
Okay, well, one, I wish I woke up looking as beautiful as you do at 7
God,
a.m.
please.
That's wild. Good morning. Welcome to your day.
Thank you so much. And it's the end of your day, right?
Yeah, it's 4 p.m. here in
Beautiful.
Los Angeles, so
Yes.
this is the end of my workday here.
Okay, perfect. I love that for us. It's a tag team.
It is a tag team. I love it. I love it. Well, I'm very excited to have you on the show today and to talk about all of the great stuff that you've been working on.
hmm
But the first question I always love to
Yeah.
ask my guests is what made you want to be an actor?
Yes. So I guess I grew up in a very like creative household. My sister and I both did dancing, ice skating, gymnastics, like modeling, and then drama at school. And it was definitely something that I really loved at school. So mum put me in like a weekly class. And then I just feel like it's something that gained momentum. You
Mm.
start finding community, finding your people, like-minded people, and it was just so much fun. And for me, I think it was so about community as well. So it was just something that gained momentum. And then before I knew it, I was like, yeah, I guess I'm an actor. You know? Yeah, I guess this is what I'm doing. And I was really, it's really lucky to even, I guess, find that and be able to pursue it and do classes and have the time and things like that to do
Mm.
that. So I got into it like that, and yeah, it's been so
Yeah.
fun.
That's awesome. Also, kudos to your parents for like
Yeah,
allowing you to do all of these different things and try all of
yeah.
these different things. I feel like so many
hmm
times you hear that kids were like, well, I had to play football or I had to do that.
Yeah,
And if you don't want to stick with it, that can be really difficult on you as a child and like learning boundaries and how cool for your
yeah.
parents to just be like, yeah, do whatever you want.
It's so, so lucky. So I'm so grateful for that. But I know exactly what you mean. There are so many people that really have to fight to be able to do something. And
hmm
it's it's kind of this, in a sense of like a realization of like, oh wow, like when you get to pursue your dream, like we don't take that lightly,
hmm
like when you get to do something that you're so passionate about, because so many people have to do some sort of other job because they just
hmm
have to. So yeah, I think being in the arts is such, like, just I'm so grateful for that.
Same.
Yeah. Yeah, it's awesome, right?
Same.
Yes.
It's like I could do other things, but I don't want to,
Yeah.
you know?
I just don't want
I
to.
just
Yeah,
don't I don't want to do
yeah.
that. I just want to
Yeah,
dance.
and it's sort of like once you've come so far, you're like, I have fought for many years to get
hmm
here. So like I'm still gonna keep riding this train. Like
hmm
creativity is ever evolving and growing. So I feel like once you're in a creative space as well, and you just like, I don't want to give that up.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
It's an addicting career in my opinion
Yes.
because it's like there is no oh I've reached the top. I've done it, you know? Because
Yes.
when you're an actor you have there's so many different characters, there's so many different
Yeah.
roles, there's so many different things to do all the time.
Yes, 100%. And once you feel like you've kind of played a certain aspect of characters and things like that, then you as a person move through and change and have new experiences, like
hmm
whether you become a mother or whatever, and then you're like, wow, there's a whole new doors of things that I want to explore in characters.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so wild. It's great though. We love it.
Yes. I love that.
Okay, so tell me about how you made the transition into being a professional actor. Did you go to
Yeah.
college? What was your journey?
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't go to college for it. I went to college, I studied fashion design.
Fun.
Yeah, so fun and felt so random of me. It was so fun. And then after that, I think it was like I was still doing the weekly acting classes.
Mm.
And at the time, I was auditioning a bit more. And obviously, coming from Australia, you kind of feel like this itch to go to LA. So then, once I finished my fashion degree, I went over to LA for pilot season, and I did
Oh
that
yeah.
for like couple years, and had some auditions and like had some success here and there, and then realized I was loving it out there, and there's so many more opportunities than in
Hmm.
Perth, Western Australia. So I sort of made a bit more of the leap to go over to LA, and sort of stayed there more for the year. So I did that back and forth for like 5 years.
Woo.
And through that period, yeah, I booked my series regular role on Itch, a TV series on ABC, which brought me back out to Perth, which is just hilarious. It's classic when you move away and you do like I booked in my hometown. So I was like, okay. So then I came back for that and we did 2 seasons. And then booked some stuff out in America. But it was really cool because I feel like yeah, I didn't go to college for it. It was just something that kind of happened, and I feel like as an actor, and I know people have such different opinions, but I learned so much just from auditioning and from improv classes at UCB and from other workshops, and I just kind of learned as I went, you
Hmm.
know? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's my personal opinion that you shouldn't go to college for acting, that you should go to college for something else because
yeah.
being an actor is about being able to be all these different people. And if all you know is acting, then
Hmm.
you're kind of just limiting your own ability to be an actor. Um,
Right. And I
it,
sometimes feel like when people leave a certain school that they've been there for like 3 years or something, it can people leave and they get really in their minds, or then they become very technical. And of
mhm.
course, I know it works for some people. There are great actors we all know who have done some went through college and all that sort of stuff. But it's just so interesting. Acting is so unique for each person. And I
Mhm.
think that is just not the way to get there if you're trying to follow a blueprint
Yeah.
map. So, yeah, for me, it was just like learning on the job and uh, just the occasional class here and there. And I guess just traveling and then just understanding like empathy and tapping into human emotions and being like,
Mhm.
this is like, I get that person, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, acting is just living, right? So
Yeah.
if you're not living, if you're locked in your room trying to study technique for 24 hours a day, you're not out there experiencing. And as
Yeah.
actors, it's our job to make somebody who's watching us feel like they're experiencing what we're experiencing.
Yes, 100%.
So I love that you brought up that you came out here for pilot season because I was just talking about how I feel like pilot season doesn't exist anymore
No, it's
because
gone.
of like streamers and everything, and it's just not here anymore. Like
Yeah.
when I first entered the industry, we
Yeah.
came down to LA from Washington State for pilot season when I was, like 8 years old. And so it's just people don't have that experience anymore. And I think it's so
No.
wild because it really was the way that you entered LA,
Mhm.
at least as an actor.
Yes.
It's how people got to know you.
100%. And if you got in the room for a pilot audition,
I
the
mean,
world is over. You're like,
yeah,
oh my God, I am in the door kind of
I
thing.
did it. I have finally been seen.
Yeah. But yeah, pilot season it was such a bizarre like 3 4 months. It's
Hmm.
just yeah, it's I feel like the industry has really shifted in that sense. And again, like you now it's like you don't need to be in LA
No, no, you
to
don't.
book anything. So it's kind of this, it really opened these doors in a different way of being like, wow, I could be based anywhere now. Whereas before
Hmm.
it was so like, well, if you're not in the room for the audition with Disney or whatever, then you're not going to get the audition.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
just even like, I mean, before pre-COVID, even if you
Right.
lived in a different area and you were auditioning for something that was filming in LA and they're like LA locals only, like I just feel like that's all kind of slowly going away. At
Yes,
least for like lead characters. Probably not as much for, guest stars and co-stars because
that's
those
true.
locals are very big and most
That's true.
places have a very large pool of talent to pull from for those roles, but
Yeah.
it's interesting to have watched the industry change in the past
Yeah.
5 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It is so different.
It's so different. So, but so you book Itch, right? And you
Yes.
go back to Perth.
Yes.
On what planet does that happen?
I know. It's like I was and it was literally filming like in suburbs where I was living. I was like, this is just insane. It's just so funny because I feel like in life, the moment you're like, okay, I'm going here or I'm putting my mindset over here, something occurs and you're just like, well, if I stayed there, I never would have gotten that. It's just so funny. It's like this energy
Hmm.
thing. Yeah. So I was, yeah, I booked it from LA and just flew back.
That's honestly so amazing. Like you're
Yeah.
just like, "Oh guys, I know everything. Do you need help with anything down here? I have all of the contacts. I'm from
Yeah.
here."
Yeah. It's so funny. So that was really cool. It was nice to film something at home as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a rare one because a lot of things film like Melbourne, Sydney side. So it's something to come to Perth was really nice.
And I mean, this was your first experience as a series regular, and that
Right.
is a daunting task to take on for the first
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
So it must have been nice to be able to be around your friends and family and have that support.
That's true. Yes, absolutely. Because yeah, there is yeah, something like that. Yeah, you're on set a lot and it requires a lot. And I think also just the sometimes the pressure of actors that we put on ourselves,
Mm,
you're like, oh, okay, of course you want to do a really good job, but it can be like that daunting factor of like, oh, what did I do to deserve this? Like it's a great role. You know how it's
yeah.
funny, everyone goes through it. So to have that experience back home was really nice.
It's, was it set in Perth or did they just say like we're gonna film in Perth?
Um, it was to be set in Australia. So
Okay.
the book was written by Simon Mayo,
Hmm.
and it was an English-based story, so like London area, countryside, and then they adapted it for Australian landscapes.
That's amazing. I love it.
Yeah, so good.
I love that the universe was just like, "Oh, you're so cute. You're gonna leave Perth." No, you're not.
Yeah,
We're
I
bringing you
know.
back.
We bring you
Absolutely
back.
not. Like,
Yes.
no.
I
Okay, so you do Itch and you're filming the 2 seasons and
Mhm.
what comes next? Did you decide just I'm gonna stay in Perth now, I'm gonna go back to LA? What was that like for you?
No, I went back to LA. It's like that, it was a moment of like, oh, well, we've got like momentum, you know? It's like, come off this, let's go back to LA and like keep hustling, you know?
Yeah.
So went back to LA and I'm not sure what happened next. I did some great local sort of like shorts
Hmm.
and things like that. But I think what came next probably was Diablo. I worked
Mm,
on the video game Diablo. Um,
fun.
so I did motion capture for Nyrel and a few scenes of Lilith. So that was really fun. And again, that was just such like a totally different experience.
Mm,
So very happy to have that experience in LA.
yeah.
So yeah, we did that in LA. And I think then after that, the next thing would have been A Girl Like Him,
Okay,
I
before we
believe.
get to
Yeah.
that, I want to talk about
Mm.
Diablo because
Hmm.
performance capture is such a different skill.
Yes.
Um, I have been told I've auditioned and callbacked for motion
Amazing.
captures before, and
Yeah.
they were like, "You move your face too much. Like you're just moving too much." we need you to like stay still. And I'm like, I
Really?
don't know how to do that. I'm like, I didn't really realize it, but apparently I move a whole lot.
Wow, that's so interesting that
Yes,
that's the feedback.
that was the feedback I got, which I found to be like, honestly, kind of great. I was like, honestly, that's like
Yeah.
some of the coolest feedback I've ever gotten. They're like, you're great, but you move too much. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
uh, that's fine. I can take that.
Yeah.
What was it like for you adapting to this
Yeah.
different type of storytelling?
Yeah. I loved it. I feel like I'm a very physical person. I love that sort of movement aspect. I think maybe
Mm,
coming from a dance background as well.
hmm.
So, like I think the movement was so fun because it was very obviously not just like human moving, you
Right.
know? It's not like we were being these creatures, but it was like moving through this world. Like Nirel lost her arm and it was like moving through like the wind and like, I don't know, just like trying to like see the whole space and like just it was just very cool. Um, it was just a very different world than an
Mm,
on-screen audition or something like that.
right.
And it was really, yeah, it was really interesting because we had cameras sort of like in all four corners of the like studio space. So in a
Mm,
sense, it was almost like you needed to be a little bit bigger because it kind of feels like theater for a sense because the cameras need to see the movement, but
right.
not too big. And then it still had to be pulled back and natural because then it would
Hmm.
be like the closer up shots. Um, but I feel like, yeah, it was just very much more like in your body, I think.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Did you have any like techniques that you employed to kind of build the world around you, or what? How did you do that? I mean, green screen acting, acting like this, it's
Yeah.
difficult to have that world in your head. Did you have any
Yeah.
tricks?
Um, probably just we got to listen to the voiceover that they had
Okay.
pre-recorded for the scene. So they played the voiceover and that was really, really helpful. I feel like that just shot me into the world because the
Mm.
voices were like just so amazing. Voiceover actors are awesome. It was just
Yes.
like so dark and like so gritty and the way the director was explaining the scene, we also had just like little images of what each person sort of looked like. So
Mm.
just quite trying to, I think for me, a big thing was just like imagination. And I
Hmm.
think that was such a nice thing to pull from film and TV acting to motion cap. Like it all is the same thread. So I
Hmm.
think just really creating the world and being very imagination based in my mind when moving through the scenes to make
Mm.
it feel just very believable. And I think for me, the voices really helped because it just dropped me in and was like, okay, we're in like post apocalyptic world, you know, like you can feel it in the voice. So I think for me, it was imagination.
I love that they played the voiceovers because I feel like without that, right?
Mm,
If you didn't have that going on and you're just trying to like move through empty space,
yeah.
you, it would it would almost, I mean, for me personally, I'd probably be like, I look like an idiot right now. But
Yeah, you'd be like, what is
I don't know
happening?
what's going
And
on.
yeah, and it would be like this big rock thing,
Yeah.
you know, it would be like this very light pole thing that they got from the side of the stage. And then you'd have to stab her with like a knife and then turn it, and it would turn into this other world or whatever. And the props you're using are so like light, you know, so you just
Yeah.
really, it would be like, oh my gosh. But I think when I heard also like Nirel's voice,
Yeah.
it's like that softer, lighter, but like deep sadness, like so much
Mm.
strength, but like she has been through so much. So I think, yeah, it was so helpful to hear the voices. And I think things like that really help actors. We need
Yeah.
something. Otherwise, of course, we can improv and use imagination, but it's so nice to be dropped into the right world.
Mm. So true. So true.
Mm,
But let's now talk about A Girl Like Him, which is your most recent film, completely different than Diablo.
Yes. So
Completely.
different.
What's the movie? Who do you play? Tell us all
Yes.
about it.
So the film is called A Girl Like Him, directed by Amy Weber, and I play Lena slash Lennon. So the movie follows Lena in a small town of America, high school age, and we go on the journey with Lena coming out as non-binary
Wow.
and what that looks like and the effect that coming out as non-binary has on the person itself and close relationships and family, and then the school kids, and just that like
Mm,
outer ripple as well, and just really how it affects everyone.
mm-hmm.
And then moving through um I guess to a place of in the movie coming to it was like a beautiful coming around all the way to acceptance and really what it means and coming to the core of like humans and
Mm.
no judgment and things like that. So it was a beautiful movie to be a part of.
I mean, it sounds wonderful, and we obviously need far more non-binary stories out there in the world.
Yes,
Um,
agreed.
what was it like for you to prepare for that
Mm.
role?
Yeah, it was so wonderful because it was a challenge in the best possible way. There's so much weight to it.
Mm-hmm.
So as an actor, giving it all the importance and everything that it needs to make it feel so realistic as well. For me, um, I am a part of the LGBTQ plus community.
Mm-hmm.
So drawing on my own sort of stories was a really big factor in preparing for the role. And then I do really well when preparing for roles, like listening to other people's stories and then
Yeah.
drawing specific things and then creating that as Lennon. So listening to a lot of non-binary stories and I hearing them from the community and through all these different ways, just drawing as much as I could um, to really feel in my body the journey that that takes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean that it goes back to one of the cool things about being an actor, right? Is that you get to listen to all of these stories and then help those stories see the light of day
100%. Yes.
and hopefully reach people that it needs to be reached to.
Yes, I really hope so. It would be yeah, the hope is just that this movie can reach as many people and the people who need to see it, that they
Mm.
can see it. Yeah.
Well, that sounds like a really great film. I need to go watch it immediately. Is it out now? It's out, right?
It
Can we watch
is.
it?
Yes, it's
Great.
on Prime and iTunes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Everybody go watch it. That's very exciting. Okay, well, we've come to the part of the show where I ask
Beautiful.
my guests to share an audition story from your past. It can be something
Yes.
funny, something heartbreaking. Do you have a story you'd like to share?
Well, the one that comes to mind would be when I was in LA, it was during like pilot season and things a few years ago. Um, I auditioned for this film, and it was basically majority of the film, this character is in an elevator and they're trying to reach their dad. It was like a very intense film, and the dad was being like captured or something.
Oh boy.
And the character was in the elevator trying to get to him, and I think the elevator breaks pretty much. So then a lot of the film is set with her talking through the CCTV camera
Oh my lord.
to the dad. Like it was very, very intense. And then the elevator would go up and then drop and like this kind of stuff. And as an actor,
Terrifying.
as an actor, the first time I auditioned for it, okay, like wonderful, did it. Like it was a big audition. I was very tired.
Mm,
Then we had a callback, so I had to do the scenes again. And like
mm.
one of the scenes is like bawling your eyes out, because
Oh,
dad's about to be like shot. Like
my Lord.
yes. And then I had another round of auditions with like director notes. So it was like this very intense audition that I did so many rounds. It felt like I did so many rounds of callbacks that by the end I was so exhausted because the scenes were just so intense. It was just one of those moments where like as actors, we are asked to do sometimes the most insane things. And we have to do it X amount of times, like, and of course we do, but like at the end of that, I was like, and I didn't get it in the end. It went to someone else. So after all, I was like so tired of like visualizing this stuff and imagining the elevator falling. It was just a lot of work.
You're
So
like, maybe I didn't want to do that. Maybe
yeah, I was like,
it's good I didn't book that.
imagine doing a full month of filming in that. It's just yeah, it's funny the places that actors sometimes have to go. They're so dark sometimes. So then
They can
after that,
be.
I was like, I can't wait for my next comedy audition.
You're like, please let me be funny because I
Yeah,
don't want to do
I want to
this.
be funny now. Yeah.
No, it's true. Like especially when they're in-person auditions to
Right.
get to that emotional place.
Yeah.
Um, it's one difficult, but two, it's so draining.
Yeah.
It's
It
so
is.
draining
Yeah.
to just sob for,
Yeah.
X amount of minutes. And then they're like, can you do it
Yes.
again, but with this a little bit? And you're like,
Yes. And then
can
in
I
your
just turn around really quick? Great, thank you. Give me a second.
if
I need to get there
yes.
again.
I know. And then whilst you're in the midst of auditions as well, of course you have these other sad ones coming through. You're like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness,
You're like,
I can't cry anymore.
I don't have any left. Has that ever
Yes.
happened to you? Has that ever like been a thing? Because I know that for me, if it's
Yeah.
been like a week of just straight like crying auditions, I'm
Yeah.
like, they're gone, guys. I can't
Well, a
do any more right
hundred
now.
percent. 100%. So then I just turned to them like, well, can she be angry during this? Like, what other emotion
Right.
could I use? Like, could
Yeah.
she yell?
What can replace that?
Yeah, what can replace
Does she
sobbing?
mask her sadness? I think she does.
Yes, exactly.
Oh my God,
Exactly.
I love it. That's a great story. I love, love, love that. So what's next for you? What are you working on? What are you doing?
Yes, so just I have some exciting things coming up that I can't share, but yeah, I'm out and back in Perth, Australia at the moment, and just getting some really exciting projects and auditions come through. So yeah, I'm
Great.
I'm excited for what's to come.
And have you ever thought of going on the other side of the camera? Have you ever wanted to explore producing and directing or
I
writing?
think I would love directing, but it's
Yeah.
not something that I've bit my teeth into yet.
So that's the future.
Yeah, that would
Future
be
goal.
awesome. Yes, I love that.
Great. Well, how can
Yeah,
people follow you to stay on top of all the fun things you're doing?
yes. You can follow me on Instagram at Melwoz, so Melwoz.
Mel was. Love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was so nice meeting
Of
you.
course. Thank you
And
so
I'm
much
so
for
excited to see
having
your movie.
me. Oh my God, yay. Thank you so much. It's been so fun.